Another week, another big-time matchup for the Dallas Cowboys. Never a dull moment in this organization as we welcome you to Cowboys Rewind from the Star in Frisco in the world headquarters of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm your host, Kyle Youmans. Now, the Dallas Cowboys 2-0 to start the season, looking for a 3-0 start this week against the Arizona Cardinals. They took down the New York Jets in week 2, 30-10. They've outscored their opponents by 60 points in the first 2 weeks of the regular season. It's been an incredible start for Mike McCarthy's squad, and especially for the Dallas defense that looks about as good as anybody right now with 7 takeaways. They lead the NFL in pretty much every major statistic, and that defense continues to roll heading into week 3. But they'll have to do so without one of their key members. Trevon Diggs during Thursday's practice gets tangled up in a one-on-one drill, taken to the ground, out for the season with a torn ACL, and it's an unfortunate injury not only for the Cowboys defense, but of course for Trevon Diggs, who through 2 games of the 2023 season was playing his best football of his career. Yes, of his career, a former All-Pro, former 11 interceptions player back in 2021, NFL leader in interceptions and turnovers and takeaways over the last 2 seasons. He's been fantastic. He was playing really good through the first 2 weeks of the season up until this injury in week 3. So the Cowboys have to respond. How does Mike McCarthy respond to the injury news? Here's what he had to say on the Cowboys flagship station of 105.3 The Fan.
Well, I mean, this is the best I've ever seen him. I mean, he had a great offseason. His training camp was, the confidence that he was playing with. I mean, his ball skills are just off the charts. I've never seen anybody like him. And actually, the injury occurred with him competing for a ball down in the red zone in a one-on-one. So he's always all over the ball. But yeah, on a personal note, just to, you could see him, starting to grow. This is, things were really lined up for him to be one of our leaders. Obviously with the new contract and everything, but you could see him growing in every way, possible. So. Yes, this is a challenge that he'll attack because that's just the way he's wired, and But most importantly, I just want to make sure he feels the support because we obviously are going to miss him as a player, but he's a big part of our team and our culture and everything we got going here.
Of course, some disappointment from Mike McCarthy. Trevon Diggs has been that cornerstone guy at the cornerback position for this Dallas defense. 15 interceptions, 38 passes defended since the beginning of the 2021 season. He leads the NFL in both of those categories. Plus, he had an 11-game streak without an interception, the longest of his career, which was snapped in week 2 with his interception against the New York Jets. We wish a speedy and efficient recovery for Trevon Diggs. Can't wait to see number 7 back out on the field very, very soon in that 2024 training camp and 2024 season. But when we come back on Cowboys Rewind, we take a look at what Dallas will do without Trevon Diggs. How do they fill in the holes? How does Dan Quinn make some adjustments when we come back right after this?
Cowboys Rewind is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by SWBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today. This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
With the new adversity due to Trevon Diggs' injury, the Dallas defense has to make some adjustments. Dan Quinn and company need somebody to turn to, as in 2. Jourdan Lewis, who's back in the fold for the Dallas secondary after suffering a broken foot during the middle of last year. He's now back into the fold, but how does Dallas make some adjustments? Well, the confidence level is still high with Trevon Diggs out of the picture. Deron Bland had 5 interceptions to lead the team last year. Jourdan Lewis, who has plenty of experience on the inside, and you can hear from Jourdan about that confidence level and just what this Dallas defense looks like even without Diggs in the fold in 2023.
What are you seeing from that receiving corps?
They're explosive, definitely explosive.
on the receiver end. They got some guys that can go down the field and stretch us vertically, and that opens up the run game. So I mean, the offense, I feel like they have a good complete offense that that matches up well.
Watching tape this week of what you guys did against the Jets, what have you seen? Was there room for improvement? Where are you looking at here?
Just continue to play the style of ball that we know. Just go out there every day and, perfect our craft, honestly. But the Cardinals are definitely a good challenge. Regardless of their record, they can get it on, for sure.
Guy's about to make his 100th start in this league.
Yeah. I mean, it's a blessing. The old man's getting old. He still can sling it, though, so I'm happy for him, man. That's definitely an amazing accomplishment, especially in this league, the way, quarterbacks are going in and out now. So he's definitely, one of a kind.
Jordan, you mentioned their record 0-2, but if you look at it also, they've only lost by 7 total points. How do you guys avoid overlooking a team like that?
I mean, like I said, we think they're a great offense. We feel like they can get it on and play how they want to. If they want to win the ball, they can. If they want to throw the ball, they can. We feel like this is a premier offense, and they can get it done. I mean, I feel like a lot of guys get stuck up in not having a big name, but those guys can go out there and play.
It's been a historic start for this defense. How do you believe in momentum, and how can that carry over?
It's our culture. Honestly, it's not really much about momentum. It's just about playing the right way, the way we're taught to play. So just going out there every Sunday and giving it our all, and playing our technique. So if we do that, I feel like we can match up with anybody.
What's it like when the offense holds the ball for 42 minutes for you guys?
It's a blessing, man. I know they're a little bit tired, but we love it, man. Keep us off the field, keep us fresh. But I mean, they're doing an amazing job controlling the ball and just controlling the game and the pace of the flow and getting points on the board. So I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Every team talks about the importance of handling success and how that can be more difficult and sustaining that. Is this team, do you think, better equipped to handle it than maybe some past teams you've been on here, and if so, why?
I just feel like we locked in. We understand what's in front of us, and we understand that, every game we got to go out there and prepare like, it's our last game. So we don't take anything lightly. We don't take, our success to, our heads or anything like that. We just understand that we got to prove it every Sunday.
So you hear from Jordan Lewis, the confidence level is high, and that interview did happen following the injury to Trevon Diggs. So the confidence level still there from Jordan Lewis in his return. Making his return to Cowboys Rewind is Nick Harris from DallasCowboys.com and the Talking Cowboys podcast. Nick, it's really a reactionary thing for this Dan Quinn-led defense. Without Trevon Diggs in the fold, Jordan Lewis now healthy. He'll play most likely in the slot. DaRon Bland bounces outside. How do you expect the Cowboys to domino effect what just happened with Diggs?
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for Trevon Diggs going down with a torn ACL for the entire season. But they have the depth and guys that are able to step up. Moving DaRon Bland out to the boundary and then having Jordan Lewis thrown back into the fire after having 10 snaps in Week 2 against the Jets. Being able to pick up that starting role once again that he assumed for most of last season and for most of his career here in Dallas. So both of those guys definitely having to step up in the secondary. And I feel good about those two guys being able to fill that role and fill this as the season goes on.
Do you think there's enough in-house for Dallas to fill Trevon's role? Now, his skill set's not going to be replaced. That's not the expectation that should be there. But in terms of just the bodies that are available for the Cowboys secondary, is there enough in-house or should they look outside elsewhere?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Trevon Diggs specifically is just so irreplaceable given his length, his ball skills, his coverage ability, and he was showing improvements in his first 2 games this season, arguably the 2 best games that he's had as a cover corner so far. So definitely those traits are irreplaceable, but you have a ton of guys that you could fill in and try to help out with those roles. We mentioned Jordan Lewis and DaRon Bland, but you also got Nahshon Wright coming off the IR, expected to at least, after the New England game in Week 4, and then you just traded for a boundary corner in Noah Igbenogany from Miami. Both of those guys have a ton of length. You can play them on the outside, play them opposite of Stephon Gilmore, and also learn from Gilmore. I feel confident that the guy to answer this Diggs problem is in the building right now.
Do you think Stephon Gilmore can continue to show an uptick in terms of the number 1 cornerback spot? This is the first time he's really come into a situation and been able to be the number 2. And now with Trevon Diggs going down, he's right back in that number 1 spot.
Yeah, it's definitely nice being a veteran in that room, having 10 years of experience and an NFL Defensive Player of the Year award in your back pocket. But yeah, I think he's ready to be that number 1 corner for this team. The more I think about this injury, the more I feel like they're just back in the same situation that they were last year, but just with a little bit more depth and a little bit more responsibility picked up by DaRon Bland, Jordan Lewis, a little bit more experience in those guys as well. So, I feel good about Stephon Gilmore, and I really feel good about the surrounding cast as well.
He's Nick Harris. You can catch him 9 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday on the Talkin' Cowboys podcast, and, of course, all of his work on DallasCowboys.com. When we come back on Cowboys Rewind, we check in with the receiver position. How does Michael Gallup continue to work into the fold on the offensive side of the football?
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back into Cowboys Rewind. I'm Kyle Youmans, taking a look now at the offensive side of the football, as the Cowboys have not had a receiving touchdown from a wide receiver to this point in the season. Just a couple touchdown throws from Dak Prescott, both to tight ends. So how can you continue to get the wide receiving core going outside of CeeDee Lamb, who has 55% of the receiving yards for this team through the first 2 weeks of the season? One way is to get Michael Gallup involved. Patrick No-C Walker from Cowboys Break believes that Michael Gallup's time is still on the horizon.
I was 0% concerned with Michael Gallup before the first 2 games of the season. I'd put my concern level at about 25%. And great conversation with Bobby Sean RJ this morning with that particular question. Square peg, round hole, possibly. That's possibly true. But it's too soon to know if that's the case. We're only 2 weeks in, and we just talked about how we don't know yet what the unbridled Texas Coast offense looks like just yet. Cowboys are still kind of figuring that out. Didn't have Brandon Cooks on the field last week. So, once Cooks is back on the field, and let's really start to see 2-3 games in what it really looks like and how that impacts Michael Gallup. Yes, he's not going to be – he can run the slant, but he's not the quick separating guy like you would see Cooks and Turpin and CeeDee Lamb and Deuce Vaughn if you line Deuce up in the slot. So he's not going to be that. But there will come a time where you will need the downfield threat that matches the physicality and the violence in which Michael Gallup attacks that ball when he high points it. You will need the physicality of Michael Gallup to be able to run through 1 or 2 would-be tacklers to get you that first down. And that's a skill set that really will come in handy. The question is, how many more games will we see before that happens? And hopefully he goes out to Arizona and that's his day. It was CeeDee Lamb's day on Sunday. Maybe this is Gallup's day. Maybe the next week is Cooks' day, and then it's Ferguson's day. And that's what Mike McCarthy was talking about. And every day, every week might be another guy's week.
We'll see just how much Mike McCarthy as a play caller can get Michael Gallup back in the fold as the Cowboys take on the Cardinals this Sunday. Now, speaking of the Cardinals in Arizona, let's hear from an Arizona State native and somebody who played quite a bit for the Dallas Cowboys. What does Darren Woodson believe in this Cowboys defense with Micah Parsons running the show when we come back with more Cowboys Rewind? It's hard to find a more versatile player than Micah Parsons on the defensive side of the football in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. But one of the guys that could possibly challenge him for that title was Darren Woodson, and he was on Cowboys Storyline this week with Nick Eatman, talking about his confidence level and the excitement around Dan Quinn and Micah Parsons' defense.
Before you answer the Micah part, because it's a different era, where does Micah play?
Everywhere. Anywhere that he 92? Wants to play.
In 92?
Anywhere he wants to play.
Okay.
Look, I'm the old guy who's not going to say, well, these guys are soft and these guys couldn't play with us. Are you out of your mind?
I'm just asking.
Number 11 could have played in any era. He would have started in any era, and he would have been the best player on the field. This guy, it is amazing to watch Micah Parsons' first step and his awareness and his ability to attack the quarterback and attack the tackle or the guard or what. He is one of the most dominant players that I can remember watching. Micah Parsons is a guy, and I think we're starting to see the maturation process. He came in his first year, he was playing linebacker. Yeah, he rushed here and there. Second year, kind of the same, probably used him more as a defensive end and as a pass rusher. This year, you're seeing him really mature as far as mentally in understanding the game. Like, the game is slowed all the way down for him. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't have to think about anything. He's playing multiple positions, which that's what I admire about that, because I've done multiple positions, and it's a lot of work, because you have to transform your mind to go, okay, I'm playing safety this position, I'm playing corner this position. Okay, now I'm playing actually the will linebacker, and this time, you got it. The game, you're always thinking. He's not thinking anymore. He's just being a football player. Right. And then they bring in depth. They bring in Sam Williams to spell him. And he sits on the sideline for a few reps and doesn't get those reps in. He gets energized. He gets mad. I want to be back out there. He's got energy now. And then he goes back out there and you give him 8 straight plays. And I just think this guy's he's a joy to watch, man. He really is.
That clip from Cowboys Storyline this week always puts a smile on our face to see Darren Woodson continue to talk about this current Cowboys defense. Back here with Nick Eatman from Cowboys Storyline. And Nick, you've had great conversations with Darren Woodson over the years. He seems about as excited as he's ever been about this unit on that side of the ball.
Yeah, he was definitely excited to be on the show and listen and talk to the fans. The fans got a chance to call in and talk to him. But I thought it was cool how he said, he's not going to be that guy, because it's rare where these former players that give all the flowers to the new guys. They're like, well, he couldn't play it in my era or whatever. He's like, no, Micah Parsons could play it in any era. and I love that he sees that. And one thing he does appreciate is that he can play different spots. He can play linebacker. He can rush from the inside, rush from the outside. And another guy that could do that was Darren Woodson. Darren Woodson, and he appreciates that, because he's a guy that could play safety, free safety, strong safety, play some linebacker there in the nickel, cover in the slot, even cover on the outside, played special teams. He did it all. I think he appreciates guys that are doing it all and doing it all at a high level.
Now, if Darren Woodson was in the opposite scenario, he was on this version of the Cowboys defense, where would he play? Where would he be best utilized in Dan Quinn's system?
Well, we tried him out at corner today, to see if anyone could know. I think he'd be perfect in this, in this system, because they are trying to play linebacker or safeties to move up closer to the line of scrimmage, play in the center of the field on a lot of passing downs. Darren Woodson, to me, is another guy that could play in any era, and I think the great ones are great because they could do that. But I think he lines up right in the center of the defense, plays that jack linebacker spot.
Yeah, for the most part, you look at Darren Woodson and what he did from a versatility standpoint, that just sounds like Dan Quinn, right? That just sounds like exactly what the defensive coordinator wants to do on this defensive side of the ball. Even with Trevon Diggs out, while I have you here, what's the ceiling for this Cowboys defense in 2023?
Until we see it differently. We haven't seen them without it. Everything they've ever asked Deron Bland to do, he's done it, and he's done it really well. I think this team can still have a very, very great defense.
This defense has a chance to continue to be great, even without Diggs in the fold. Completely agree, especially with the pass rush that Micah Parsons brings to the table.
Passer, I think we're good.
I think we'll be okay. We'll make things happen. Nick Eatman from Cowboys Storyline joining us here on Cowboys Rewind. When we come back, we take a look at Dak Prescott playing in his 100th game of his NFL career. What are some of the stats for QB1 in his Cowboys and NFL tenure? Welcome back into the Star in Frisco as we wrap up another edition of Cowboys Rewind, Week 3 here from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters. I'm your host, Kyle Youmans, as we now take a look at the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys at 2-0 after defeating the Giants and the Jets by a combined score of 70-10, plus 60 in the point differential through the first 2 weeks of the season. You're facing a Cardinals team that has lost to back-to-back NFC East opponents, losing to Washington in Week 1 and the Giants last week in a heartbreaker 31-28. But the Cowboys have been not only dominating on the defensive side of the football, they've been taking care of it on the offensive side. Dak Prescott, for the first time since 2021, has avoided throwing an interception in back-to-back games. Prior to these first 2 weeks of the season, he had thrown an interception in 9 of his previous 10 contests. So they're taking care of the football. He also has a completion percentage of 71%, which is a career high, saying something going into his 100th career game, where he's second all-time in passing touchdowns, but first all-time in Cowboys history for completion percentage. He's earned 5 points more on his completion percentage through the first 2 games of the season than his career best, which of course ranks tops all-time in terms of Cowboys quarterbacks. 100 career games is nothing to sneeze at. Dak Prescott has been the franchise quarterback for this team for quite some time, and he continues to do that by winning games. 63 wins, and of course, if he's played in 99 career games, that means he only has 36 losses. He continues to take care of the football, put up massive numbers really across the board. You think about some of the great quarterbacks the Cowboys have had in this franchise's history, he continues to be right up at the top of the list. So congratulations, Dak Prescott, 100 career games. And he's going to try and get a number 64 win for the regular season this Saturday. 3:25 kickoff on Fox. It's the Cowboys and the Cardinals from State Farm Stadium. I'm Kyle Youmans. That does it for us on Cowboys Rewind. We'll see you next week from the Star in Frisco.
Cowboys Rewind was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by SWBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today.